Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining our X Space, where Alchemy Pay will be chatting to Alex from Zeta Chain. We're very excited to have them. We're very excited to announce that we've got a new partnership with them. Alchemy Pay is providing on-ramp payment support and various payment support for the Zeta Chain platforms for developers building on Zeta Chain. We're also supporting Zeta Token for our on-ramp payments checkouts on other Web3 platforms as well as on Zeta Chain platforms. So yeah, some of you will be joining us from the Zeta Chain community, so we're very pleased to have you. And some of you will be joining us from the Alchemy Pay community, from the ACH community. So just before we chat to Alex, I'll just explain what Alchemy Pay does. So we're a payment provider within the crypto space. So we facilitate fiat to crypto purchases. So that means exchanging your dollars or euros or whatever your local currency might be for crypto. So that could be a number of different tokens. So in this case, we were talking about Zeta token. Also, the reverse is true. You can sell your crypto into your local fiat currency and have that remitted to your bank account or to a Visa or MasterCard debit card. We also have a crypto card, so that's a crypto funded MasterCard and Visa, so that's a virtual and physical. And so, yeah, at the moment we're really flying. Things are going great at Alchemy Pay. Expansion has been big, and really, to see the space sort of come to life over the past couple of months has been fantastic as well. For all those who are working throughout and biddling throughout the crypto winter, I think the hard work has been repaid. Alex is joining us from Zeta Chain, and he is in business development. Alex, you want to say hi, and maybe you can just go straight into an introduction about yourself, about what you do at Zeta Chain, maybe even how you got started with them, what you were doing before, how you got into crypto, perhaps. I always find quite interesting. So yeah, please just go ahead and give us the intro.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Rob, for the intro, and good to be talking to everyone here in this X space today. Yeah, so what I'm doing for Zeta Chain, I'm just running business development for them right now. And previous to this, how I got into this crypto space, I've been in this space for about almost 7 years now. And I really got introduced to the space by Bitcoin. I was working a lot of odd jobs, very minimum paying jobs, just trying to support the family, for me personally. And here in the US, things are just getting worse and worse and worse with the financial crisis and such. So I started looking into alternative investments, and that's when I got introduced to Bitcoin. I was everywhere on the news, and I was like, hey, there's a reason why this is going up, and then deep dived into the technology, and then started involving myself more and more into this rabbit hole of crypto. From there, I started working for several DeFi startups. One was a DeFi insurance startup, one was a metaverse NFT fi startup as well, and then was recently at Binance for about 2 years, and then finally made my way over to Zeta Chain now.
Oh, that is a fantastic origin story. Thanks, Alex. Yeah, so you got into Bitcoin around 2017, I take it then.
Yes, this is my second bull now.
Yeah, well, congratulations. Yeah. Well, it must be. Oh, so you caught the tail end of the bull market in 2017 then,
Right,
and
right.
you caught the downward, the falling knife, I guess, and then
Yeah.
you're now on the second bull run. Okay, so yeah, I mean, yeah, I can never. Uh, there's so much excitement and innovation in terms of so many different chains. For me, like a lot of people, yeah, Bitcoin is the same. I actually came in from a gold background and an interest in the idea of hard money. I'm English, but I'm living in Germany. The idea of hard money as a sort of sound economic basis for rule making is kind of surrounding me here. Austria, Switzerland, Germany. So I kind of came in from that direction, and digital gold seems to be playing out pretty well. Obviously, a lot of excitement as well. What's going on in the alternative blockchains to Bitcoin as well. And so you're at Binance. What were you doing at Binance, Alex?
So at Binance, I was working across different avenues. So I started off at BNB Chain, and I continued at BNB Chain, but I started working through corporate development and just some other avenues as well. But yes, was at same role, business development at BNB Chain for about 2 years, leading growth for their DeFi ecosystem as well as their infrastructure.
Fantastic, fantastic. Yeah, I mean, I have chatted with the BNB Chain team about a few things on a few occasions. So yeah, perhaps we'll be doing more work with them in the future as well. So look, let's talk a little bit then about Zeta Chain. So let's go into the basics, because for the Alchemy Pay community, this might be the first time they've learned about you. So how and when was it founded? Concepts, the kind of mission, I guess. I mean, there are a lot of blockchains out there. What are you doing that's different? What's your USP, I guess? So just give us maybe the basic concepts and missions, Alex.
Sure. I actually think you touched upon one idea, and the basic premise is there's so many different blockchains out there right now. There's so many L1s, there's so many L2s, and now we're seeing L3s, and who knows, in the future we'll have L10s or L20s, right? But the idea is pretty simple for Zeta Chain. We're an omni-chain L1. So our value add is really that we're able to connect to any chain. Even non-EVM chains like Bitcoin, Dogecoin, I mean Doge Chain, or even Solana in the future as well. But right now, we're connected with Bitcoin, ETH, and BNB Chain. So what that allows us to do is bring in these native assets from all these chains, and we enable bridgeless cross-chain swapping on Zeta Chain. Another thing is we also have omni-chain contracts. So instead of this current Web3 business model where projects have to develop in a horizontal business approach from chain to chain, let's say they start off developing on ETH, then they would have to divert resources to do multi-chain deployments on BNB chain, then Polygon, then all these other L2s and other EVM compatible
Yeah,
chains.
I mean, we know the problem, or not the problem, this is the challenge, being able to fit your services and be able to, in our case, suit and integrate all the different chains, So yeah, the idea of an omni-chain, non-EVM, being able to support non-EVM chains, I think is actually a bigger achievement than people would maybe naturally first realize. But yeah, don't let me stop you there. Continue,
No,
please.
absolutely, you're right. And we're seeing this in other non-EVM ecosystem ones that are really popular right now. It's still a very, I would say, a confined ecosystem within all these other chains, right? And for non-EVM chains, particularly like Bitcoin, there's no interaction with EVM chains right now, although there are solutions out there right now. The way that we do it is we bring in native Bitcoin. So we have a similar architecture in terms of how we custody native assets and to Thorchain. So what that allows us to do is we custody native assets from all of the connected chains that we're on. This includes Bitcoin, ETH, and BNB. So a user actually from Bitcoin can just connect their XDeFi wallet, which supports the Bitcoin network. Users can connect their Bitcoin wallet, deposit their native Bitcoin on Zeta Chain, and use EVM DApps as is. Even when they're doing cross-chain swaps as well in one single step, users are able to just swap their Bitcoin, native Bitcoin over to native ETH or even native BNB in just one single click. There are no other wrapped assets, and it's completely bridgeless. So in terms of wrapped assets, there's no BTCB, there's no wrapped Bitcoin. It's just purely native assets on Zeta Chain. So that's one of our unique selling points. And what the omni-chain contracts allow developers to do is, let's say that you were a DEX or you were a lending platform, what that allows you to do is deploy just one smart contract on Zeta Chain. You're immediately cross-chain compatible across all of our connected chains. And in the future, when we do connect to other chains as well, you don't have to do anything. You're future-proofing yourself. And you're able to have all these accessibility to these native assets like Bitcoin, ETH, and BNB directly on Zeta Chain. So that's another one of our unique selling points as well. So overall, our mission is to really improve the Web3 user experience to fix some of the problems that Web3 created. I feel like a lot of these solutions are just short-term solutions, but it creates long-term problems. So what we're really trying to solve here is user experience, user fragmentation, and asset fragmentation. So by being able to connect to all these L1s, and L1s are not non-EVM and EVM chains, and bring all these assets together, bring these users together. Zeta Chain serves as the singular hub which users are able to interact with in Web3.
Okay, fascinating. So, yeah, the idea of security, custody, liquidity, these are all crucial, but DeFi does open up certain possibilities in terms of liquidity. And actually, the space is much healthier in that regard than it was, for example, 2, 3 years ago. So yeah, it is a fascinating space. The data chain, yeah. So you would consider it's interesting that, yeah. So Bitcoin is a key part of your value. You take Bitcoin just as seriously as EVM chains, for example, and that I think is quite unusual. I think there's room for everything. So yeah, in terms of a multi-chain landscape that we have now, do you see that coming to an end anytime soon? I mean, I feel like obviously the last 18 months you saw certain projects sort of drop and disappear a little bit, but overall a lot of those projects are still here and still in the top 200 or whatever. So what do you think about the idea of having more? Are we going to have just more chains or less?
That's really hard to say. I think it really depends on the type of dApps that are being built. So personal opinion, there's a lot of these dApps, again, there's this horizontal business approach in Web3 where a lot of these projects and dApps go from chain to chain to chain to chain. They invest a lot of resources on these multi-chain developments. And I don't necessarily think it provides a lot of benefits to the end users. For example, we're seeing some bigger projects integrating new chains. But then at the end of the day, the basket of assets that's available on their main chain is not available on the new chain that they integrate. And because the volume of the new chain that they integrate doesn't really match the volume on their main chain, it creates user fragmentation. It just ends up creating more fragmentation. And for some of these developments and some of these integrations, if the same basket of assets aren't available on one chain than from another, then I don't know. It's quite difficult to say. So we'll just have to see how it goes in the future. But what we've definitely been seeing is this new demand in omni-chain capability. So a lot of these users are now addressing some of these problems that have risen where it's, yeah, our assets are fragmented. There's so many different chains now. We have to go to the chain that has the most volume, etc. So a lot of these problems actually happen from these tedious multi-chain developments. So again, there's this demand in omni-chain capabilities right now.
Yeah,
With
users want to be able to move their assets around pretty fluidly and easily at any given time in DeFi.
right,
So the idea of an omni-chain, cross-chain capabilities, making that smoother, more seamless, yeah, and more secure. Yeah, it's
exactly.
definitely a need. And yeah, I mean, it does seem like we are going to be in the multi-chain multiverse for quite a while. I would say. I don't see any. I mean, we do see a slowdown in proliferation of projects, but then at the same time, there can be a period of a couple of months where we see a sudden explosion of profusion of new projects. So it does seem to continually grow. And you're certainly right, by the way, in regards to the end user's experience. Yeah, it's in no way is this useful, really. For some people who want to be interested in the space, of course, the idea of why are there different blockchains, why are there different wallets, what is this about? Yeah, you're going to have more understanding of the space once you know it, but it is all the more it feels more like an obstacle for casual users, or casual newcomers as well,
Right. And yeah, that's another that's another point as well. Like there's so many for a new user, right? The current collective vision of Web3 is to onboard as many Web2 users as possible in the most frictionless way possible. Um, and it just seems that with the current environment right now, with all these different chains and with all these different assets that are just showing up out of nowhere and being created every single day, it confuses the average Web2 user, right? We want to make it as simple as possible for even our elder parents to join the ecosystem as much as possible. So I definitely think that this partnership with Alchemy Pay actually reduces that. One of the things that I I've always I always believe in is payments and how payments are one of the most tedious. It's so long and it's so tedious to send payments anywhere in the world digitally and even physically. So being able to on-ramp different assets across different chains and having the most widely available basket of assets with Alchemy Pay is definitely a good step forward.
Fantastic.
But
Yeah.
yeah, we're trying to fix that user experience situation right now in Web3.
Yeah, fantastic. And yeah, we're definitely on board with that idea, and this is something we're doing right now, um, on ramping and off ramping. So, all of our services, when you look under the hood, it's a different kind of scenario, but we are moving assets between fiat and crypto, and providing that payment service. Also, in-store payments as well with crypto is something that we're constantly exploring and have been working on. But the crypto card is really making things pretty seamless in terms of fiat to crypto. And yeah, you're absolutely right. The idea of having seamless, fluid, secure movement of assets within the blockchain space, so within between different chains, yeah, I think is crucial, of course. So um, yeah, we're pleased that the services we're providing are allowing newcomers to have an easy experience. Yeah.
Right. No, I completely agree with you. So yeah, looking forward to seeing how this goes.
Okay. So also, let's go for some of your community as well. Let's talk about the past 18 months. What have you been focused on? What are you focused on now? And also, I know you do also have a halving campaign you want to mention, which we should mention as well for the communities. And also, I should say at this point, we are going to be taking some questions from Twitter, where we've posted about the event. We've got questions there, and Alex is going to take some of those questions from the listeners. So do keep listening to hear if we pick your question. I think there are prizes for that. Alex, so the past 18 months, what have you been focused on? What would you say you're focused on now? And, if you want to mention the halving.
Absolutely. So actually for the past 18 months, our team has been on testnet, but we launched live on mainnet January 31st. So we're still quite new actually, compared in the ecosystem, we're still quite new. But what we've been really focused on is bringing smart contracts to Bitcoin. Because on Zeta Chain, you're able to deposit native Bitcoin and you're able to connect your Bitcoin wallet and being able to bridgelessly cross-chain into other EVM assets. What we've been hyper-focused on is really bringing smart contracts over to these non-EVM chains and creating more omni-chain use cases. For example, in our ecosystem right now, we have our own native DEX called AnyFinance, and that's our native DEX, and you're able to cross-chain swap your native Bitcoin to other EVM assets in one single click. We also have our own gaming ecosystem right now, and we also have our own liquid staking ecosystem right now as well that utilizes a lot of these native assets. So in the future, what we do want to focus on is creating a robust DeFi ecosystem, whether that be CDP stablecoins that allow native Bitcoin to be deposited, and you're able to over collateralize your native Bitcoin to create a stablecoin that can be used across our ecosystem, across our connected chains. Or maybe that could also be a lending market where you're able to deposit your native Bitcoin and also take out some other collateral assets against it. So the possibilities are quite endless here, but we really believe that it's going to start with DeFi. This goes into our current campaign right now that we announced just yesterday night, actually. So we'll also be doing a Bitcoin drop with Galaxy. So this is to celebrate the Bitcoin happening right now and to really showcase our ecosystem on Zeta Chain. So if you go on Galaxy and I think it's called the Bitcoin halving by Zeta Chain on Galaxy, you can just follow the steps on there. But pretty much we're going to be allocating some Bitcoin and being able to drop it to airdrop it to users. So you would have to enroll in our XP program, which is our own in-house sort of like a loyalty program where users can explore our different ecosystem, do certain actions, and get rewarded in XP points. And then if users hold an omni-chain domain through Space ID, you can actually transfer these domains across our connected chains as well. You're able to be eligible for some of these drops as a part of this campaign. So these are just some of the things that we're doing to celebrate the happening and some of our ecosystem DApp partners so far.
Oh, nice one. And yeah, we're friends with the Space ID team, and we work with them already. We've already integrated so that people can use their Space ID on our ramp actually. So and connect their wallet to it. So yeah, we yeah, I've always found their project quite interesting, and projects similar to that. The domain name projects I find quite fascinating too. Yeah, so. That was quite good for anyone who is collecting or stacking sats. So there you go. You got some alpha there. And what do you think about bringing new users into your ecosystem and sort of accessibility for users with OmniChain specifically?
Sure. So I'll start off with making it accessible for users. That always has to be step one before you introduce them into our ecosystem. So definitely one of the things we're doing is having more wallet campaigns with certain partners. So actually, we just on Binance Web3 wallet now, you can actually withdraw into the Zeta Chain mainnet. So your users who have Zeta tokens are able to withdraw into our mainnet to get involved in our ecosystem. So you can actually do that from Binance Web3 wallet as well as OKX and KuCoin right now as well. And having a more decentralized option like Alchemy Pay is also a good step forward as well. Um, in terms of bringing new users, again, it starts off with a DeFi ecosystem. And the reason for that is users have to be able to do more than just holding a token, right? So it's a good way to get introduced in our ecosystem with our DEX partners, being able to introduce them to new basket of assets like ETH or BNB or even Bitcoin, and being able to do some functions for them, like being able to, be a part of our lending markets, being able to just be a part of the broader DeFi ecosystem as well. So those are just some of the things we're doing. And in the next coming weeks as well, we'll be launching some incentive programs, just a little heads up to grow out our overall ecosystem as well to attract builders and to support some growth for our new builders and DS on Zeta Chain as well.
Okay, awesome. And obviously, we, in terms of the first step in our partnership, it has been to support Zeta token on your chain, and for developers who are working with you guys, and for your community as well. What do you see? So, actually, should we go to the questions from the community? How about that,
Sure.
Alex? Yeah. So, this is a question that came in from King Arthur 4336. What milestones do you have in the 2024 roadmap, and what is the best way for community members to connect with your project?
So one thing we already did was launch mainnet. So that's obviously the biggest exciting news that happened 2 months ago.
Yeah,
So
congratulations.
thank you. Yeah, the team has been working on that for quite a bit now, and I think testnet was about 2 years. So it's definitely something that we all celebrated once mainnet launched. But future going forward in 2024, it's to bring smart contracts to Bitcoin. Again, everything that we're really doing right now, especially closer to that happening, is really emphasizing that here on Zeta Chain, you're able to bridgelessly cross-chain swap. You're able to connect your Bitcoin wallet. You're able to deposit native Bitcoin. So really, we're able to attract those users and the amount of liquidity on the native Bitcoin ecosystem that's been previously not been able to be accessible before. Even some of the alternatives now have been a lot of wrapped use cases, and it truly has been native Bitcoin. So that's one of our biggest roadmaps in 2024 is to create smart contract use cases for native Bitcoin and also showcasing off the omni-chain capabilities as well. In terms of community members to get in contact with our um, project or Zeta Chain in general, we have a Discord and a lot of our developers are on there. We actually have office hours as well. So you're able to go on there, ask any dev questions. We're quite active on there with the rest of our team. So be sure to just get in touch with the team over there as well. We also have some of our partners also in those chats as well. So if there's anyone you want to get connected to, just go to the Discord and just reach out to us.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, Discord is such a great platform. I really do love it. So yeah, go check us out. Alchemy Pay there. Zeta Chain. I was been saying it Zeta Chain before, Alex.
Oh,
Zeta Chain, right?
don't worry about it.
Yeah. Okay. And where are you speaking from today, by the way, Alex?
I am actually in New Jersey in the USA.
Oh, nice. So just outside of New York, then is that right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Okay. So weather getting good there now?
No, it's actually quite terrible today. Really gloomy.
Okay.
It's cold. It's raining. It's not nice.
That sounds like East Denver to me. That kind of weather.
Oh my, yeah, East Denver. I don't even want to talk about it. I came back and I got sick for an entire week and then ended up getting pneumonia from it. So
Oh my
yeah,
goodness.
just
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. But
it's always the
that's
conferences.
quite a common thing for these events. I have to say, people do get ill. They're traveling around a lot, you know.
Right, especially for these really big conferences. You
Yeah,
just have to take your chances.
yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, they're pretty useful, and there's some big ones coming up. Actually, I'm heading to Paris next week. But Paris Blockchain Week tends to be a little bit more infrastructure or investment rather than layer ones, for example. But you never know. There will be big projects there too. So this question comes from Ozgoversin. I'm not sure I've said that right. That's the Twitter handle. What is Zeta Chain's approach to cross-chain interaction in terms of liquidity? Can you explain the design of Zeta
Sure.
Chain?
So one of the things I mentioned over and over again in this space, I think you've heard me say it so many times, is bridgeless cross-chain swapping. So in terms of the interaction side, in terms of liquidity, what happens is if a user wants to, let's say, cross-chain swap their native Bitcoin to BNB per se, or maybe some other asset, what they would do on Zeta Chain is they would connect their wallet, deposit their native Bitcoin on Zeta Chain. They would just select the asset that they want to cross-chain swap into. Let's say it's native BNB on BNB chain. So on the backend side, what happens is we have something called TSS addresses that are just simple addresses that custody these native assets. So the native Bitcoin gets deposited into these TSS addresses, and it mints out a ZRC20 equivalent, and it gets sent over to, it gets converted as a ZRC20 BNB, and then it gets withdrawn into native BNB for the user. So the ZRC stuff happens on the backend side. No one actually sees that asset. It's purely for accounting purposes, and it's purely to keep state and balance across all of our connected chains. So that's what we're doing in terms of liquidity. We also have liquidity caps right now. We have the liquidity caps can be found on zetachain.com/liquidity. So you can actually check out the amount of liquidity that we have caps for on Zeta Chain for these native assets, including some of our stable pairs as well.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So another question comes in. Can you talk about the consensus mechanism and transaction speed? Now you are bringing together chains, but yeah, do you want to explain that one as well?
Sure. So since we have our own nodes and validator sets, remember that we are an omni-chain L1. So all state and logic that you do for your omni-chain contracts would live on Zeta Chain, and it would still be able to read and write across all these connected chains. So we are proof of stake, we are Cosmos, we do Tendermint consensus, and transaction speed, we have instant finality.
Okay. Okay, very good. And you can find that all on Zeta Chain's website, or you can find a lot of information. You have the hub as well, don't you? So people actually can get a lot of information and a lot of data there. That's hub alchemy.zetachain.com. You can check that
Yes.
out. Do also go to alchemypay.org and check out our website. You can check out the various services. And yeah, you can check out if you are a developer or you're creating a brand and you want to have a branded MasterCard or Visa debit card, then do also check out that. That's the most recently launched service we have, and we're pretty excited about it, working very well at the moment. So, and we have we'll have a lot of news coming up in terms of that particular service in the future. All right, so one more again from Ozgover Sin. Can you tell us? Can you tell us how Zeta Chain came to be?
Sure. So again, this goes back to the problems, right? So it really started off after this ICO boom, the last bull market. Really, there were just so many chains just happening and so many different projects happening and so many DApps and developers pursuing a multi-chain approach. One of the problems that we've seen, and hence how Zeta Chain came to be, was user fragmentation, asset fragmentation. So again, I talked about it a little bit earlier, but for some of these DeFi projects, when they integrate new chains, they haven't seen the same volume as they saw on the main chain that they were integrated with. And on the new chain that they were integrated with, there weren't as many available assets on that chain that were on the main chain. And even with lending markets right now as well, you're able to quote unquote cross chain or send your loan over to a different chain, but it doesn't make sense because you still have to pay that original loan in the previous chain's asset. So it really wasn't a true multi-chain experience. It actually created more fragmentation. So this is how Zeta Chain came to
Yeah, so
be,
the
right?
liability is on the other asset regardless of having made the bridge.
Exactly. So so the question comes to users like, what's the point of this then, right? So hence why our solution at ZetaChain was okay. We're able to read and write across all these connected chains that we're on, so users can seamlessly swap, users can seamlessly send between these different chains, and be able to settle in those native assets as well. So it actually fixes the asset experience. So if these DeFi projects wanted to build on top of the ZRC standard, which is our own EVM standard, completely EVM compatible. They would have accessibility to native Bitcoin and all the native assets of the chains that we're connected with, and they would able to be accessible and be used across all of our connected chains. So let's say that you were a PerpDex platform. Um, if you were a PerpDex platform and you wanted access to native Bitcoin, and you want to access to native BNB and even native ETH, you can do that directly from Zeta Chain instead of having to do all these multi-chain deployments now. So it saves the project's resources and time. On the user side as well, let's say that there was a lending platform on Zeta Chain. Now you're able to cross-chain send over your loan to another chain of your choice and be able to settle it in that asset as well. So we're fixing that problem that a lot of users had confusion and that users had confusion with.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of users do find it confusing. So yeah, having Zeta Chain is really fixing a problem and helping with the obstacles for certainly for a newcomer or anyone, to be quite honest. Alex, what do you see as right now we're experiencing a dip. We are getting very close to the Bitcoin halving now. It has moved a little closer. I think it's more like going to be the 12th or 13th of April, I think was the last I heard, where they estimate. So it's moved forward because there's been a lot of activity. But what do you see as the next big catalyst for growth in blockchain for the next, let's say, 18 months?
Ooh, that's really hard to say, but I think there's going to be an explosion in the Bitcoin ecosystem. We're seeing a lot of projects slowly experiment with how they're going to approach Bitcoin that we haven't really experimented with before, because obviously Bitcoin has no smart contract functionality. So we're going to see a lot of people try to capture that market um, for native Bitcoin. So we're seeing some projects like Zeta Chain bring smart contract functionality there. Then we're also seeing runes and ordinals and bringing more NFT use cases, I guess, to Bitcoin. Another trend or next big catalyst that I would say are going to be prediction markets. Being able, so a lot of these chains are going to be focused on user growth and user attention. So I think a lot of these um, catalysts are going to be based on users. And I think a lot of those are going to be prediction markets, being able to predict certain token prices or certain real life events using crypto assets. I think that's going to be another big user catalyst. I think those two are really going to really drive up the next 18 months. So Bitcoin Fi, I would say, smart contract functionality, DeFi functionality to native Bitcoin, and also on the user growth side of things, prediction markets.
Yeah, I think you have a good point there in regards to the prediction markets. Bitcoin ecosystem, yeah, I find it, yeah, I think watch this space in terms of Bitcoin. I think a lot's happened with Bitcoin over the last couple of years in terms of being, well, ordinals, so-called Bitcoin NFTs, you know, have been quite a surprise in terms of showing what the blockchain is capable of in terms of, you know, if you're willing to use workarounds and, you know, sacrifice certain levels of decentralization, let's say. Well, it's all a big discussion, but yeah, I see that. I mean, people, you know, we are. I think there is an expectation that the prices of Bitcoin will steadily grow over the next period due to the halving. Quite how that plays out, we don't know, but I do think there will be more people moving towards it. Simply, you know, not replacing, but adding to gold bugs. You know, people who are buying gold or investing in gold. You know, so I think there are a lot of reasons why the next 18 months should be pretty healthy growth for the space. And do you think there's anything holding crypto back at the moment?
Besides the usual pump and
Scams
dumps
and frauds.
and the scams and the rug pulls that are happening, I think one thing that's severely underlooked in Web3 as a whole is the lack of resources we give to developers. On the project side, I don't think there are many um, really great smart contract developers out there right now. Like the amount of smart contract Solidity developers or other programming developers for other chains are quite small compared to the Web 2 world, right? So the demands and this, the amount of these developers currently um, out there right now, I think is quite small, and we don't give enough resources to these developers to build out the security side of things for DFs. And in turn, there are always going to be bad actors in crypto who will try to exploit. So I think there needs to be more emphasis on the security side of things for a lot of these DFs, making sure that they're providing their users the best experiences possible by also investing a lot of their resources into the security and making sure that their smart contracts are strong and making sure that bad actors can't hack it or do any malicious actions with their smart contracts. So I think that's the one thing holding crypto back at the moment. It's going to take some time, right? And it's going to take some time as Web3 continues to gain more traction in Web2. Hopefully that will naturally progress as well. But I think that's one of the things holding crypto back.
Okay, thank you, Alex. So, guys, you're listening to Alex, who is in business development at Zeta Chain. Fantastic project which launched finally in January after years of testing and work and building. So, congratulations again on that, Alex. Is there anywhere that people need to check out? Should they look at a certain blog, or what would you like them to do?
Honestly, you can just explore the ecosystem on zetachain.com. Everything is quite accessible there. You can access our blogs where we announce our campaigns and ecosystem announcements. Follow our Twitter, obviously. But if you want to get more in depth within the Zeta Chain ecosystem, I would highly encourage everyone here to go on Zeta Chain Hub. That is our one-stop hub where users can swap, stake, be a part of these XP programs on ramp. So yeah, Zeta Chain Hub is our main one-stop shop if you want to get more deep dived into the ecosystem. But if you want to be updated on all the developments happening on Zeta Chain, definitely follow our Twitter and don't be shy. You can always join our Discord as well.
Okay, thank you very much, Alex. It's been a pleasure to have you on with us today. Really pleased to have Zeta Chain and Alchemy Pay working together. I'm going to be meeting up with the teams, I think in possibly in Dubai as well. So really looking forward to working with you guys in the future, and wish you all the best. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening today. As Alex said, do go check out zetachain.com. Do also go check out alchemypay.org as well. But basically, Twitter's the best place to check out the latest news. Do check out the Discord pages as well, though. Alex, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Goodbye, everyone. See you next
Bye-bye.
time.